No, I'm not a beauty photographer. I'm a fashion photographer. I want to do fashion, I want big things. And it was a real boys' world. How did I get my number? Because it's Vogue.
Right, we just spilled some tea in London. Hi and welcome to Spill the Tea. I'm Laura and this is
Elise Dumontet.
And what does Elise Dumontet do?
I'm an advertising, beauty and fashion photographer.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Would you like some more tea?
I'm so happy we're having tea. This is the perfect morning for me. Good, thank you.
So Elise, you said that you're a beauty and fashion photographer, but you have worked with some of the biggest global brands in the world. We're talking Clinique, Clarins, L'Oreal. When you were a little girl, was that what was your ambition? Where did this all start? Take us back.
No, I think I wasn't brought up in an environment where creativity was in the forefront. So very normal school days, mum and dad worked in a factory, come from little rural France. So I was very fidgety. I was always needed to do things, but no one kind of put me towards the direction of being an artist. So I did a catering school. So I'm actually a trained chef.
Oh, wow.
Which is super.
Now your love for food.
Right. I did a catering school because that gave me I was doing things. And you had to be very meticulous. You had to follow rules and ingredients, and that worked so well for me. And then I got to 18 years old, and I just wanted to learn to speak English. So I came to London. I had a one-way ticket with £20 in my pocket. Didn't know where I was staying that night. I worked in a restaurant for a long time. I ended up working in Soho. And then in Soho, I was confronted with all these creative things. Everything was about creativity, and we're talking the early 2000s, so it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of partying, and you were meeting people that were like, oh yeah, I'm a film director, oh I'm a photographer, oh I'm a stylist, and it was just like, oh, I've never been in that world. I got myself a job in a photographic studio in Shoreditch. And
as an assistant?
As an assistant, yeah. I was literally making tea, coffee, cleaning the floor, painting the walls. And it was a real boys' world. It was a very masculine world at the time. So I kind of turned myself into one of the boys. I had to work really hard, first of all, to learn everything, but also to be like, okay, I can do the same thing as you do. And I got really, really, really lucky. I got to work with some great people straight away in my career. And then I got picked up by probably one of the biggest photographers in the world, a French photographer called Patrick de Marchelier. And I started to be his assistant, and then I assisted for about 8 years. I really took my time because being self-taught, I didn't learn at school any of the techniques, any of the equipment. 90% of the people I work with were doing the most incredible shoots. I found myself going backstage at Couture in Paris and shaking hands with, Valentino and all those people. And I was just like, this is surreal.
Such a world.
And I think that's really sparked my thing. I was just like, I want to be part of this. I don't want to just be an assistant and just do the odd little thing. I want to be part of this. And from one day you're shooting Harper's Bazaar, not shooting, I was the assistant, but you're doing Harper's Bazaar and then you're being flown to Brazil for 2 weeks to do an editorial for Glamour magazine. And all of this world, I was just like, this is surreal. I come from a very different background.
And being the assistant, you were just absorbing, and what a heck of a mentor in that respect. When did you then step out going, I can do it?
So as an assistant towards the last few years, I was working on building up my portfolio. So I'll be assisting, but also spending all my money, everything I had, into doing some testing. So I'll be working with the assistant stylist and the assistant makeup artist, and we'll all kind of gather, so, we should do together, something. And then the stylist will be like, well, I don't have to return any of those clothes for a few days, so maybe we can do something. And so you
kind of growing together almost.
Yeah, totally. And those people I started with, I'm still friends with, and we still work together. We kind of started working on portfolios for each other, and we were putting favors right, left, and centers just to get together. And then I got this incredible makeup artist called Attracta Courtney, and she was working on this magazine, and she said, I really want you to do a beauty story. I'm like, no, I'm not a beauty photographer. I'm a fashion photographer. I want to do fashion. I want big things. I said, no, I think let's do beauty stories. So we shot 12 pages, 12 pictures. And that was my first real publication. It was a beautiful, beautiful magazine, the paper quality, like old-fashioned.
Old school,
of 20 odd years ago. So it was still
really... hits the senses.
Totally. You wanted to touch it. You just wanted to, grab it. And it's beautiful.
Smell it.
Smell it. And then this is where I said, okay, maybe I can do this. Within a few months, one of the picture editor at English Vogue saw my work, gave me a call. Next thing I know, I'm being sent to Mumbai and I'm shooting for Indian Vogue, doing the first 4 issues of Indian Vogue, and that's how kind of my career started.
Tell me how that moment felt when you got that call.
I thought it was a joke at first, and I thought of every single possibility of me messing this up. It was absolutely surreal. We did the shoot. It was just before the monsoon. It was insanely hot. The makeup was melting.
Yeah.
And then we came back and we were like, we've just shot Indian Vogue, the first 4 issues.
12 pages.
Yeah. And the funny thing is as well, the main fashion story and the cover were shot by Patrick de Marchelier. So it was a massive thing for me because this guy I've learned so much from, I've literally looked up to for so many years and worked for, I'm being published in the same magazine.
Amazing.
That was incredible. Yeah.
Trend you would love to bring back?
Ooh, trend. Smiley t-shirts. My days of raving, loved it. Oh, and a tiny, ridiculously tiny backpack.
Yes.
For no reason, full of sweets. Genius.
Bring it back. You talk about all things beautiful. What does beauty therefore mean to you? And obviously it's changing over time.
It's very different. So I guess when I first started, I was kind of abiding by the rules of the industry. You know, it had to be young model, really impeccable skin. Everything had to be really perfect. And then I find myself obviously getting older. And I think my vision of beauty and perfection has definitely changed. I find women beautiful as they are. So I try to get my shots on camera. By that, I mean, I'm not saying, oh, I'll get on post-production or I'll fix it later. I try to get my shot as much as possible on camera. For me, beauty is unadulterated beauty, if that makes sense. I like seeing the lines. I like seeing the imperfection. I like seeing what the real body I really likes. Rather than before, I would have morphed and really worked on the skin a lot more than I do now. It's in opposition to what's happening at the moment. I think for me, beauty is showing the reality and not try to oversell and mislead people in what could be achievable as well, especially when you work in beauty. You know, you sell beauty product, and I think it started really bugging me when I was doing product for wrinkles, for example, shooting them on a 21-year-old model. That didn't resonate with me.
No.
You can be beautiful and not be perfect, and that's the beauty of it, I think.
Favorite tea has got to be asked.
Green tea.
Green tea.
Green tea with a hint of jasmine. That makes me very happy.
We talk about Gen Alpha have more engagement and connection with virtual beings than they do in real life. What do you feel like that's kind of spinning beauty back on its head again in terms of having moved so far and now we're kind of going backwards a little bit?
I find AI fascinating. I think it's kind of like when we moved from analog to digital, people were screaming and oh, this is the end of photography. It's just a different era. It's just we're moving forward. And I think with AI, it's exactly the same thing. My worry with, especially using AI for beauty or fashion, is taking us 10 years as women to get brand to use real woman, and I'm talking older, plus size. And I feel like with AI, we're going to move backwards again. And we're going to move towards unachievable
and unrealistic
beauty standards. So I'm curious as to, I want to see where this is heading, but I'm also very nervous that the younger generation is going backwards and thinking, oh, that's the way I should be looking. And that's not achievable because it's not reality.
Terrifying, yeah.
But I also think advertising, we're going to have to look into, is that false advertising? Are we selling a product that is not doing what it's supposed to do because it's not being applied on real skin? So technically, that is false advertising.
So much work went into, I think we commenting on how much percentage has been retouched for beauty brands.
Yes.
And now it's almost like, so what are the rules? I don't think anyone quite knows this yet. As if you're going to use a virtual influencer within your campaign, how obvious are you being about the fact that this is...
That's the thing. I think advertising agencies are really going to start thinking, how far can we push this? And also in certain countries, you're not allowed to retouch as much as in other countries. So is there a whole new rules? Are we stepping into something that needs to be rewritten and fast? Because it's going fast. It's going really fast. I'm curious to see. We need to embrace new tech. It's part of moving forward. But we also need to be careful as to what we're trying to say to younger generation.
So Elise, part of your journey and in your career, you worked for 10 years with Gok Wan on How to Look Good Naked. Tell me all about that, kind of the time when that was live, what was going on in terms of beauty standards. Why do you think it absolutely hit?
I think it was just so clever at the time. I think we were hitting the spot for so many women. We used to watching magazines and things and everything was really beautiful. And all of a sudden you were showing to women, actually, you're perfect. You're perfect. You just need to accept yourself and accept your body. And there was a real concept, it wasn't just like we're taking people and changing their outfits and shooting them naked for my part of the show. There was a real follow-up. We had psychologists following them up. We were building a relationship with those women. I'm still talking to a couple of them now, 10 years down the line. It really was something very special. I felt very happy to have been part of that, which was weird because when I got the call, first of all, I thought it was a prank because God called me and I thought it was a friend of mine making a funny call, so I hung up. And then he called back and he was like, no, my agent gave me your number. And I was like, oh. And then we met and within about 10 minutes, we were sitting in his car, having a cigarette, discussing food, lunch mostly. And we've not looked back. We've been besties ever since, which is fantastic. I got to work with one of my best friends, so it's brilliant.
So it was a shame when that stopped then, because that ran for...
That ran for a good, I think, 10 years, and then it stopped. And then we did another series with a different production company just after the pandemic. But it was a different era. It wasn't hitting the same spots. I think by then women, they found their voice and they find their way of being more open, especially when it comes to fashion. So that didn't hit the spot as much. And I think that's good. It just, it's good that it's moved on and it's no longer needed to have someone telling you're great as you are.
That's really true, isn't it? I mean, a lot now that we're more looking into ourselves and how we feel about ourselves. And I think that show was a catalyst for that in that respect.
Yeah, I think so too. And Gok was just definitely, he's...
perfect person to do it.
He's the perfect person to do it. Yeah. Absolutely.
Got one last question. What's your favourite cheese?
Oh, that's an impossible question. There's no such thing. I like them all. I'm French.
Elise, thank you.
Thank you.
It's been awesome to spill some tea with you.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
And we'll do a cheers because that's just what we do. Cheers. Right, we just spilt some tea in London.
Are you mad, woman? 3 cheese. I couldn't survive.
I knew it.